how we act in the world, etc., all starts with intention. So the other slide, which is the source of, yes, so what is I? I is that in which all experience occurs. I is that in which all experience is known. I is that which transforms itself into all experience. Because all experience is a modification of I. Your body, which we call the body, you remember, body is just sensations. By the way, here's a simple thing that you can do since I thought of it, and I don't want to forget about it, is throughout this week, whenever you feel or whenever you remember, just put your awareness inside your body. Do it right now. Put your awareness in your whole body right now. And what you want to do with this understanding is that your body is an experience in your awareness. Okay? So now close your eyes and put your awareness in your whole body right now. And feel the sensations in your body right now from the inside out. First of all, notice that the sensations are kind of very diffuse, very amorphous, very vague. They're spread out. They don't have any boundaries. What I want you to understand right now is you're not having sensations of your body right now. What you're experiencing is your body. Your body is made up of sensations. Once again, your body is those sensations. And those sensations are arising from I. They are known in I. They occur in I. They are modifications of I, and they subside in I. So just by feeling the sensations in your body from the inside out, you are in fact experiencing your body as an activity in I. Because that's what your body is. It's an activity in I as those sensations arising and subsiding in your own being. Those sensations will keep changing every moment, every minute, every hour, over a lifetime. And those sensations are in time, but you are not in time. You, the awareness in which they occur, you are not in time. You are timeless being. Your body is made of those sensations, is made of those sensations. Just have your awareness in those sensations. They're all over the place. They have no boundaries. They're intermittent. They arise, they subside. They are vague. They are amorphous. That is your body. That is your subtle body that you're experiencing with your eyes closed. Okay, so now you can open your eyes. But during this week, try once in a while closing your eyes, or not closing your eyes if you want. You know, even as you're walking around, just be aware of your body at the level of sensation, not at the level of perception, which is looking at the body, not at the level of thought, which is thinking about it, Okay, lot at the level of emotion, which is I like my body, I don't like my body, all that. Just at the level of sensation. Try and do that this week. Whenever you think about it, no schedule. Okay, whenever you think about it. So what will happen automatically, by the way, first of all, you'll be much more comfortable with your body, but you'll also realize it's not a thing. It's just an intermittent excitation of your own being at the level of sensation. Now we can examine it at all the other levels I talked about, perception, emotion, thought, but right now just try and remember this, to doing this over the course of this week, even get into a habit. And by the way, if you do that, your body will start, or what we call the body. Remember, there's no such thing, by the way. Okay, it's just an intermittent stream of sensations, perceptions, thoughts, etc. But what will happen is what we call the body will start to heal itself, just by doing this. Why? Because awareness, you'll see, is fundamental reality. And just by bringing your body into awareness, not your awareness into your body, but it's just a shift in the way we think, okay? Bring your body back into your awareness at the level of sensation. It'll start to heal itself, and then of course everything else we're doing, meditation, etc., yoga, breathing exercises, all of that will accelerate it. Okay, but healing is automatic when we go to who we are, which is I. Okay, which is I. So now what I want to do is, let's make this understanding that we had this morning help us create a practical way to experience a good life. Okay. Life being the continuum of birth and death in every moment of now. Okay. So what I'd like to do is take us through 4 intentions which will be incorporated in your meditation. When Roger does the meditation with you, they'll be incorporated along with the 4 questions that I brought up this morning. Who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? And what am I grateful for? They'll all be incorporated in the meditation, but also there'll be some intentions that will be incorporated in the meditation. And for that we need a little deeper understanding of what is I. So let's take this and extend it to a few more things to complete the definition of I. Okay, so you can start creating a slide out of this if you want. Okay, so the first thing we want to say as an extension of what is I, the next bullet point, I is all possibilities, infinite possibilities. I is infinite potential. I is the immeasurable potential of all that was, all that is, all that will ever be. I is the source of all, being the source of all experience. I is the self of the individual, but I is the self of the universe. Because there's only one self. Beyond your ego self, there's only one self. Only one source. So I is source, I is self, I is infinite possibilities. Infinite means infinite, no limitations. And this is based on a very, very simple phrase in the yoga. In fact, if you read the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, I guess we have a copy here of one of the translations of Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Let me make sure I'm telling the truth. So Patanjali was the first author, the first writer of the teaching of yoga. And we don't know when he existed, but a long, long time ago. And all yoga originally goes back to his teaching. And this is one translation. It's pretty good, actually. But we're not getting to the first chapter. Well, I'm not going to look for it, but here's the first sutra in Patanjali's teachings. I don't know if it's in this book or not, but if it's a good book, it should be. Okay. So what does Patanjali say? Yoga is the settling down of the mind to the source of thought, which is what meditation is, to the source of thought. The settling down of the mind to the source of thoughts. What is the source of thought? The self, the I. Now it also happens to be the source of emotions, feelings, perceptions, but actually they're all modifications of the same thing. So source of thought is the source of everything. Okay, source of thought is also the source of perception, of all experience. The source of thought, not thought, the source of thought, which is the self. Which is the self of the universe, which is the self of the individual. It's the source of all the universe. And what is that? All possibilities, infinite potential. So at the level of being, which is our self, we are that. We are all possibilities. Okay. Yeah, project this. Nice, Renee has the ability to find any slide I want before I think of it. So, yoga is the quieting of the fluctuations of the mind. Okay? In Sanskrit, yog chit vritti nirodh. Vritti means fluctuations. Chit is mind or consciousness. Actually, it means consciousness. Nirodh means the settling down. And when it settles down, you're at the source. That's the true meaning of yoga. To become one with the self of the individual, which is also the self of the whole universe, because there's only one self beyond the ego. There's only one source. You can't have too many sources of the universe. Okay, that we leave to religion. They make, they have their own version of God and then they go to war. Okay, but we can say that the source can only be one. Whatever that is, in our case we're saying it's I. Not ego I, but the I, in which all experience occurs. Okay, so add to that list infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and the source, I is the self. Now add to that infinite creativity. Okay, because all creativity comes from I. Where else could it come from? Okay. Infinite creativity. It has to come from the source. And when we think of God, which is an interesting word because everybody has an image of God and a definition of God, and that in itself is limitation. If the source has infinite possibilities, then as soon as we define it, we limit it. So, we don't want to define it other than in these terms, okay? Infinite creativity. And that's why, many times when people in religion, they talk of God, they call creator. Except they make him out to be a dead white male in the sky. Okay. Infinite creativity. Okay. The self of, so infinite creativity. Then another thing we can say is synchronicity. This is a very important thing to say, synchronicity. Because even though our mind thinks of one thing at a time, in nature everything is happening all at once. And not only in nature everything is happening all at once, it's in a way all synchronistic. And you can look at anything like this flower or a leaf or a blade of grass or your own body or a bacterium or anything that we call a living organism, which happens to be, as we'll see, the whole universe. But when we look at it, we see that everything is synchronistic. So a human body has approximately 100 trillion cells. I don't know if you knew that. 100 trillion cells is what it takes to make a baby out of the one cell. And every cell is behaving in a way that is synchronistic at every cell, with every cell. And it's all happening all at once. So, human body, as I have said many times, it can remove toxins, make antibodies, regulate its heart rate, digest food, play a piano, kill germs, make a baby, all at the same time. It doesn't do one thing at a time. That's our conscious mind that can only do one thing at a time. So we must remember that. Our conscious mind can only do one thing at a time. In fact, if you multitask consciously, you'll mess up your brain. And it destroys your neural networks. It's the one thing that gets worse with practice. And that is multitasking. Even when you think you're multitasking, you're not actually multitasking. You're moving from one thing to another very fast. So you might be speaking on the phone, you might be checking your text messages, you might be speaking to me at the same time. In reality, you're doing none of the above. You're just moving from one to the other, and in reality, you're messing up your life. So consciously do not multitask. Do one thing and do it with what we call mindfulness, focused awareness. That's your conscious mind. But your unconscious mind, which is actually your super conscious mind, your supraconscious mind, it can do everything all at the same time. It's doing it right now. Regulating your heartbeat, digesting the food you ate, making antibodies, actually even unconsciously absorbing all the information in this room, unconsciously actually intuitively knowing who to trust, who not to trust, etc. And that is your body. Your body is your unconscious mind. Okay, that's why that exercise I told you, bringing your sensations all the time into your awareness, that's a wonderful thing to do. As you do it, you'll become more intuitive, you'll trust your body, and your body is the ultimate and supreme genius. Your conscious mind can't go there. Conscious mind is just a little blip on the surface of the supraconscious mind, which is your body. Because what is your body? It's sensations, perceptions, thoughts, all encapsulated in the activity of the cells of your body, which are synchronistic, which means everything is synchronized. The word synchronistic literally means that. Chronos means time, synchronos means synchronized in time. Okay. And when once in a while we tap into this synchronicity in our life, we call it meaningful coincidences. Or if we understand it deeply, this is actually what religious and spiritual traditions call the state of grace, or the spontaneous fulfillment of desire, or intuitively making the right choices. What is intuitively making the right choices means we don't have to think about it. We're not burdened by mistakes of the past and regrets of the past. We're not anticipating memory, anticipating what will happen in the future. We just happen to do the right thing at the right time, and things fall into place. We have a thought, and somebody else has the same thought. We're thinking of someone, they call us on the phone. So meaningful coincidences, synchronicity, what we call good luck, happening to be in the right place at the right time, all of this is part of synchronicity. So this word synchronicity was introduced in the Western literature by Carl Jung, the great psychologist. But it's a very ancient word in the wisdom tradition of Vedanta. It's called Ritam Bhara Pragya. Ritam means rhythm, literally. Ritam is the Sanskrit word for rhythm, the symphony of the universe. The universe is all one symphony. And our body is part of the symphony, and our consciousness is the symphony. Awareness is the symphony. So Ritam Bhara Pragya. Ritam means, as I said, rhythm, the symphony of the universe. Bhara means full of, and Pragya means he whose awareness, or she whose awareness is one with the awareness of the universe. In that person's life, there is only synchronicity. Meaningful coincidences, good luck, the state of grace. If you're religious, God is on my side. But basically, everything falls into place by itself. It's also called the state of choiceless awareness. Now, I don't want to confuse everyone, but the highest level is where everything happens by itself. Which is happening right now in your body. Everything is happening by itself, right? You're not forcibly regulating your heart rate or digesting your food or making the right antibodies to the pneumococcus that your grandfather had, etc. It's all happening by itself without you making the choice. But we can, by having certain choices, we can accelerate that process till we come to the stage where we don't need to make choices. Okay, that's synchronicity. Infinite creativity, infinite possibilities, synchronicity. A fourth thing we need to add is I is unpredictable. Okay, so just add that. I is unpredictable. It's not random, it's unpredictable. Okay? It can't be random because, I is orchestrating all the activity in which your body is. Right? So, inherently I is unpredictable, even though intention makes it probabilistic. So we have probabilities that we can be quite certain of, but we cannot be 100% certain of events that are going to happen. Why is that good? Why is that good? Because unpredictability is the basis of creativity. If everything is predictable, it's like an algorithm, it's like a computer program. I know that if I press Amazon.com, I'll get Amazon.com. You don't want to be a computer, you are actually creative. So, in order to harness our creativity, we must embrace unpredictability, which is the nature of I. I is inherently unpredictable because it is creative. Finally, let's add one thing. I is the source which we have. We have in the other slide, volition, choice. Just add, it's where intention comes from. So it's the source of intention. We add that as a bullet point maybe in the same slide. Source of intention. Maybe Renee, where we say, what is I? We can say, / who am I? So this would be complete, kind of the best description we can come up with of I. But we have to experience it. Okay, but this is the best. Okay, now, given this understanding, there are 4 things that we will be exploring, 4 intentions. And that will be part of our meditation. And the first intention will be a joyful, energetic body. Remembering that the body is just an experience, okay, and ideally speaking, the experience should be joyful and energetic, right? In fact, I have been participating in some research with Gallup, and when we look at well-being, we look at all areas of well-being, things like career well-being, social well-being, community well-being, financial well-being, what else? Emotional well-being, spiritual well-being. There's only one question that predicts everything. Very strange. One question that we ask that predicts everything. And that question is, do you have enough energy to do everything you want to do every day? On a scale of 1 to 10, can you tell me what's your energy level? Intuitively. So, and if people score 8, 9, or 10, their future is great. And their present is great. If they score between 5, 6, 7, they're struggling a little bit presently, and their future is also going to be struggling, because present determines the future, right? Everything that's happening now will determine the future as well. And if they score less than 4 or 4 or less, then they're suffering. And actually, according to the research, one can predict that they're going to have a crisis. So, to be joyful and energetic, feel the body as joyful and energetic is very important. Okay, so that'll be one intention we'll have. It's the intention for the experience that we call the body. Remembering that at the deeper level, body is just a bunch of sensations. Okay, excitations of your own self. The second intention, that will be part of our meditation. So I'm just exploring this with you right now. We don't have to, don't worry about it, because it'll be part of your daily ritual, will be love and compassion. Loving, compassionate heart. Because, if you don't have love in your life and compassion, then what's the point? Emotionally, we need that. The third intention we'll be having is a reflective, alert mind. A mind that is reflective, alert, therefore creative. And the fourth intention that we will have, and this will be introduced to you as meditation, Roger will take you through this, he'll guide you through this, you don't have to, is lightness of being. Our soul, our spiritual experience means no worry, no anxiety, no anticipation, no regrets, no resistance, lightheartedness. So they're all connected. These are intentions for our body, for our emotions, for our mind, and for our soul. So in that spirit now, to understand that before the meditation, what I'd like to do is tell you some of the things on a very practical level that we can do to always have a joyful, energetic body. So I'll go through that with you right now, knowing that if we start with that intention, it'll happen automatically, because intention coming from the deepest level organizes its own fulfillment. When your intention comes from the deepest level of your being, or your awareness, of your soul, of your spirit, of your consciousness, then it organizes its own fulfillment. That means it orchestrates everything, so you do it right without having to worry about it. But in that spirit, I want to go over a few things that you should be aware of, or what makes for a joyful, energetic body. Okay, so let's go to the future of well-being slides. And actually, why not? How long is that conception to birth video? 3 minutes. Let's show it. Okay, so let's watch the video first, and then I'll go over some principles. I helped with some people to create that video a few years ago, and every time I see that, it's really, what a remarkable thing is it to acquire or experience our form, which is the body. Now, just remember, I've already said to you that the body is a human construct around experience. And the experience is who's having the experience? The self is having the experience. So your self decided, oh, I'm going to have this human experience, because yourself has already had all kinds of other experiences. And now, of course, we create constructs around to explain these experiences. So we have constructs like DNA and genes and body, etc., which are basically descriptions and definitions or words to explain experience, to explain a mode of knowing. So having said that, when you were conceived, you had 23,000 genes. And 23,000 genes, what is gene? A gene, again, these are human constructs, just like the shoe is a human construct. But genes are the units of stretches of DNA that code for a unit of heredity, or what we call a protein. So we start with proteins. And DNA, gene is a stretch of DNA that codes for a protein. We have 23,000 genes that we acquire from our parents. And there are 3 billion bits of those codes of proteins. DNA, these are chemical bases. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. And actually, when you look at that formation of the baby, those 9 months, yourself remembers all of what we as humans refer to as evolution. So first you look like a little microorganism. You know, when the cell is fertilized, the egg is fertilized, you look like a microorganism. Then you look like a rodent or a reptile. Then you look like a mammal. Then you look like a monkey. And finally you look like a human being, all in those 9 months. In the Vedanta, we call these the incarnations of Vishnu. So Vishnu is that impulse of creation that maintains the universe, and we are part of that impulse. And the reason I wanted to show you that video is that you see certain principles which we can add to our list of I. Can we add to our list of I? I is the most miraculous thing in the universe. So those principles are, first of all, self-evolving. Yourself has evolved through cosmic time, you know, as all these other creatures as well, which we call incarnations of Vishnu. You don't have to use those terms, but those are ancient terms. So self-evolving, next point, self-regulating, self-organizing. And sentient. Sentient means alive. So this is the self. It's alive, and yet it has no form. Because if it had a form, you would be able to see it. You would be able to touch it. You can't see it because it's the one that is seeing. You can't touch it because it's the one that experiences touch. You can't taste it, you can't smell it, you can't imagine it, because it's doing all those things. And because it is formless, it is eternal. Okay. It is expressing itself as form. So I is sentient, S-E-N-T-I-E-N-T. And I is always both body and mind. You can't separate body and mind because they're both basically fluctuations or of the self, of I. Now, after 9 months, as the body is ready to come out of the womb, something else happens, which is pretty miraculous, is if it's a normal delivery, not a cesarean, then what happens is that as the baby comes out of the birth canal, it swallows, it inhales, it breathes in, and it's covered by all the vaginal secretions of its mother. And as a result, there's an inoculation of 2 million extra genes. These are actually the bacteria of the earth that are in the mother's vagina, in the mother's skin, in the mother's mouth, in her lungs, etc. And so this additional inoculation of genes is called the microbiome. It's our second genome. And it's actually much more important than what we got from our parents. It's basically the ecology of our planet, of our Earth. So these days, of course, when if obstetricians know what they're doing, if they do cesarean sections, they'll take all the secretions of the mother and they'll cover the baby with it. They'll also make it swallow some, inhale some, so the lungs and the gut and the skin can all absorb the second genome. But even if that is not done, the mother picks up the baby, hopefully, and she kisses it and cuddles it and touches it and smells it and breastfeeds it. So there's a lot of contact with the mother, and there's inoculation of the second genome as well. And then if father does the same thing, if the siblings do the same thing, then we all share genes with each other. Okay, so your genes are a mix of all the genes that you acquired, not only from your parents, but from your siblings and your dad after birth. And now life begins. And what is life? It's experience. So let's go to the next slide. We go to the next slide from the future well-being. And so what is experience? And just go to the, can I use this? Yeah, let me use it. Okay, so now life begins. And microbiome is just the second genome. Genome is what you got from your parents. And epigenome is a sheath of proteins that gets formed as a result of experiences. Life is experience. We've said that so many times. Okay, so every experience counts. We'll do that lecture later. And so here is the experiences we are having. Sound, touch, sight, taste, smell. Hopefully we get good sleep every night, especially for the baby. It's very important, but you'll see it's very important for you. Waking, breathing, nutrition, how that food is metabolized, what we call the environment, which includes our parents, our siblings, everybody else, but also, the environment in general, in which we are, our experience with nature and an experience with that which we call the universe. This is all what we can say is obvious, but then there's something else that's happening as a result. We're having thoughts, we're having emotions, memories, desire, imagination, creativity. We think about what is happening to us, and soon we get into higher states of consciousness like intuition, creativity. This happens not immediately, but it starts to happen as the baby starts to acquire language, because language is a way we communicate experience with each other. And normally we communicate experience with stories. This happened, and we interpret those stories. Other animals also communicate experience, but not in the elaborate way that we do. They basically say, there's food there, there's sex there, and let's go for it. It's mostly about survival, but we have more elaboration of experience. So all this influences your body, okay? The experience of your body, which we want to be joyful, energetic. So what interferes with that is, of course, stress. And stress can be simply stated as anything that we consider threatening. That's a good way to define stress. Stress is the interpretation of threat. Physical threat, psychological threat, emotional threat, financial threat, loss of job. That's all stress is basically how we interpret what is happening to our life. And this can result in all these things. Time sickness, not having enough time, trying to multitask, performance anxiety, lack of concentration, confusion, disorientation, all the things that you see. It begins with mental and emotional disturbances. As you can see, then that leads, There was more to that. Is that the next slide? Shouldn't be. There's more to that. There's behavioral disturbances and then physical disturbances. Okay, so what happens is when we have this, then we get into behavioral problems. We're not nice with other people, we get anger, hostility, maybe we feel guilt and shame, all those things, and ultimately this leads to physical illness. So stress is ultimately, directly or indirectly responsible for disrupting this experience which should be normal. The experience of what we call a joyful, energetic body should be normal. So you have 2 slides missing there, which you can come back to later. I'm just going to continue with the others, okay? So here are some things that we can start this week, okay, and start creating a habit. So this week is a good opportunity for you, all of you, to see that you get a good night's sleep. Okay, it's the most efficient way to improve your well-being. Every animal sleeps, every biological organism sleeps, and when you sleep well, then you will automatically in the morning feel joyful and energetic. Now when I say sleep well, it means without the help of drugs, pharmaceuticals, alcohol, or anything else. Natural sleep. Now, here are some of the things we are learning about sleep, which are science-based. It helps your immunity, helps your memory, but it also, during sleep, we have 2 stages. One is dream state, and one is deep sleep state. And these are very well defined in the spiritual literature, and I'm going to talk to you about this during this week. There's different states of consciousness. But sleep is definitely taking you back to your source. Okay, so during the dream state we experience fluctuations of the mind, right? But physical perceptions are gone. We're not experiencing this room, for example. Okay, so in the dream state there are fluctuations of the mind as emotions and all of that. But then in deep sleep, even that settles down. So you're back to the source. Sleep takes you to the source in the same way as meditation does. That's why the 2 things should be benefiting each other. And in deep sleep, there's lots of unconscious processing going on. Your consciousness processes information, and it harnesses your creativity, it decreases inflammation. But the most important thing to realize as we go through this course, because this is called Seduction of Spirit, is actually sleep gets us in touch with our soul. And except we are not aware of it in deep sleep. And the goal is to become aware of being aware, ultimately, even in sleep. If you can get to that stage, which you will if you practice everything that we are going to be talking about this week, then you will be aware in what people call death. Because what is death? It's the absence of all the fluctuations of consciousness. The fluctuations which appear as the experience of mind and emotions and thoughts and perceptions. Awareness never goes away because awareness is always, it's timeless. Something that's timeless can't go away. So if we could become aware of being aware in sleep, it would be an amazing state of consciousness. We'll go into that experience later during this course. What happened to the slides? Can we go back to sleep? Huh? Okay. Okay, so sleep is number 1. Strategy for well-being. Number 2 strategy is meditation. Number 3 strategy, you don't have to show the slides. I think it will only add too much information, which we don't need right now. Let's go into just the strategies. So number 1, sleep. Number 2, meditation. Both to get in touch with our being. Number 3, and this is not necessarily in, or don't worry about the slides right now. This is not necessarily in order of importance. I'm just giving you all the strategies, okay? So number 3 would be the practice of yoga and pranayam. Why? Because yoga and pranayam is more than exercise. It's getting in touch with ourselves, getting in touch with what the experience of the body, in touch with the experience of the breath, which are activities. And of course, balancing sleep with activity. So these days, there's a lot of good literature that if you walk about 10,000 steps every day, you don't have to be vigorous about it, then you're balancing rest with sleep. Okay, so number 3 would be yoga pranayam. Pranayam is breathing properly, learning how to breathe through all the practices. And then movement. Okay, all in one category. 3. Number 4 would be healthy emotions. And what are healthy emotions? Love, compassion, joy, happiness, peace of mind, what is called equanimity. Number 4 would be healthy food. 5. Number 5 would be healthy food, which is, the kind of food, how many people enjoyed the food this afternoon? Good. So that is healthy. Why it's healthy? Because it doesn't come from a factory. Okay, it's not full of chemicals. It's not full of antibiotics, hormones, petroleum products, and a lot of the animal food that comes to us now through grocery stores, it's full of animals that have been pumped up with antibiotics and hormones and chemicals and growth hormone and estrogen, you name it, everything is there as toxins. So the closer our food is to the source, to the soil. Now, that doesn't mean I'm recommending that everybody immediately become vegetarian. If you're used to meat diet since you were a child, then going on a non-meat diet might be stressful to you. And so don't stress yourself, okay? But go in that direction, and if you eat meat diets, then buy it from a farmer's market or something like that. So it's not coming from a factory. That's number 5. And number 6 is this understanding that we are only now beginning to have, is connecting with the earth. Because the earth is connected to everything that's happening in the cosmos. The earth is spinning on its axis, it's going around the sun, it's part of the symphony of the cosmos. So anytime you can walk a little bit, even for 10, 15 minutes, either on the earth or fresh grass or on the beach, your body rebalances itself because it's connecting to the earth, which is our body too. The earth is recycling as our body. And I don't know, do we have grounding chairs and mats this time? Okay, so you can try those. Those are devices that connect you to the earth, by the way. The chairs and the grounding mats. And what happens is that the grounding mats and chairs connect you through, there's a wire that goes into the ground, to the earth, which is the grounding wire in every outlet, in every room. And it's a good way to reconnect your biological rhythms, make them back, bring them back with the rhythms of the universe. So those are 6 things you can do to create a joyful, energetic body, or the experience of a joyful, energetic body. Sleep, meditation, healthy emotions, healthy food, and connecting with the earth through grounding. Okay, so this is what I wanted to discuss. We are slowly basically going in the direction of how this understanding of who is I and the I of all experience, how we can start to create a good life for us. Okay, but also go beyond that to understanding that life is the continuum of birth and death. That life is eternal because it is not in time. The self is not in time. The I is not in time.